When people talk about Canada's cost of living crisis, the focus is usually on obvious things like expensive housing, rising grocery bills, or higher interest rates. But beneath those visible costs, there's another side of the crisis that people rarely discuss. The constant financial pressure is quietly affecting mental health, long-term planning, relationships, career choices, and even the ability to feel hopeful about the future. Today we will talk about the hidden cost of living crisis in Canada nobody talks about, so before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, also subscribe to my channel 10. Most people think the cost of living crisis is only about higher prices. When people talk about the cost of living crisis in Canada, they usually focus on the obvious things: expensive groceries, rising rent, higher gas prices, and increasing utility bills. And those problems are absolutely real. But there is another side to this crisis that almost nobody talks about: the psychological, social, and long-term financial damage happening underneath everyday life. The real cost is not just that things became more expensive. The real cost is how rising expenses are quietly changing people's behavior, mental health, life decisions, and future opportunities across an entire generation. 9. Young adults are delaying major life milestones. One hidden effect of the cost of living crisis is that many Canadians are postponing adulthood milestones that previous generations considered normal. Buying a home, getting married, having children, or even moving out independently now feels financially risky for many young adults. People are staying with parents longer, delaying family plans, or avoiding long-term commitments because economic uncertainty feels overwhelming. This creates emotional frustration because life progress starts feeling disconnected from effort. 8. The crisis is creating constant financial anxiety. Many people are technically surviving financially, but emotionally they feel exhausted. Every trip to the grocery store, every rent payment, and every unexpected expense creates stress. Even middle-income earners who once felt relatively comfortable now experience constant low-level anxiety about money. The problem is not just poverty, it is unpredictability. People no longer feel confident that their income can comfortably absorb rising costs. This creates a psychological burden that quietly affects mental health, relationships, and overall quality of life. 7. Higher costs are quietly destroying financial mobility. Another hidden issue is that rising living expenses reduce people's ability to move forward financially. When most income goes toward survival costs, there is little room left for investing, saving, starting businesses, or upgrading skills. People become trapped financially because they are constantly covering present expenses without building future leverage. Wealth-building opportunities shrink when every dollar is consumed by immediate needs. This slows long-term economic mobility across an entire generation. 6. Housing is reshaping how Canadians live. Housing costs are now influencing nearly every major financial decision. In many parts of Canada, rent and mortgage payments consume enormous portions of income. People are accepting longer commutes, smaller spaces, shared housing arrangements, or relocation away from major cities simply to survive financially. Home ownership increasingly feels less like a milestone and more like a privilege available mainly to people with family wealth, unusually high incomes, or perfect timing. Housing no longer just affects shelter, it affects identity, lifestyle, relationships, and long-term stability. 5. The middle class feels financially trapped. One of the least discussed realities is how much pressure the middle class is under. Many people earn incomes that appear good on paper, yet still feel financially stuck. Higher salaries are often immediately absorbed by taxes, housing costs, insurance, transportation, childcare, and inflation. This creates confusion because people feel like they should be financially secure, yet they continue struggling to build savings or wealth. The middle class increasingly feels squeezed between rising expectations and shrinking financial flexibility. 4. The crisis is changing career decisions. Another hidden cost is how economic pressure affects career choices. Many people no longer choose jobs based primarily on passion, creativity, or long-term fulfillment. Instead, survival becomes the priority. Higher-paying industries attract people regardless of interest, because financial pressure leaves little room for experimentation. Risk-taking decreases because economic mistakes feel more dangerous in an expensive environment. This changes not only personal lives, but also innovation and creativity across society. 3. Social relationships are quietly being affected. Money stress affects relationships more deeply than most people realize. Couples delay marriage because weddings and housing feel unaffordable. Friends socialize less because entertainment costs are higher. Families experience tension around financial support and generational expectations. Some people feel embarrassed discussing financial struggles because everyone appears successful online. The cost of living crisis is not only economic, it is social. It changes how people interact, connect, and plan their futures together. 2. Wealth inequality is becoming more visible. One reason frustration is growing is because the gap between asset owners and non-owners is becoming increasingly obvious. Canadians who bought homes or investments years ago often benefited from enormous appreciation. Meanwhile, younger generations entering later face much higher barriers. This creates a feeling that the system rewards timing more than effort. People working full-time still struggle to achieve milestones that previous generations reached much more easily. Over time, this weakens trust in traditional financial expectations. 1. The real hidden cost. People are losing faith in the future. The deepest cost of the living crisis is psychological. Many people no longer feel confident that hard work alone will create stability or upward mobility. Saving feels slower. Housing feels unreachable. Retirement feels uncertain. Financial progress feels constantly delayed. And when people lose belief in the future, motivation, optimism, and long-term planning begin weakening too. Because the truth is simple. The cost of living crisis is not only making life more expensive, it is quietly reshaping how an entire generation thinks about work, stability, relationships, and hope itself. And once you understand that the real damage is not just financial but psychological and structural, you begin seeing why so many Canadians feel exhausted even when they are technically still getting by. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.